Your Excellency Aymen, good to have you with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome His Excellency Aymen Tawfiq Almoayed, Minister of Youth and Sports in Bahrain, to share his perspective and expertise around Gulf regions, next generation, and incoming workforce. His Excellency currently serves on a number of government boards and committees, including chairmanship of the Education and the Training Quality Authority, chairman of the Bahrain's Hope Funds Board of Directors. This fund was created only 2 years ago, and I think His Excellency has done a great job on that, and maybe he can share some of his ideas on the development of the fund. And also His Excellency is a member of the Bahrain Supreme Council of Youth and Sports, the Supreme Council of Health, the Supreme Council of Education, and the Ministerial Committee of Legal Affairs. Your Excellency, thank you very much for your time and joining me today to discuss programs and initiatives that the government of Bahrain and governments enlarged in the GCC can partner on, along with the private sector community, to support future young business leaders.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you to the Pearl Initiative and all of our friends within key management within Pearl Initiatives for, number one, the outstanding leadership in this sector, and also number two, for thinking outside the box with regards to strategic partnerships. So we're very glad about our partnership, and we're very glad to learn from Pearl Initiative and yourselves where we can govern better and more efficiently. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Excellency. Before I start my question, let's agree. What do you mean, or how do you define youth in terms of age, specifically, and in terms of participation?
Good. So this is a conversation that the Cabinet had back in 2018. It is a very important conversation. Different jurisdictions address youth in different ways. Some jurisdictions talk about the age of 14 to 25. Other jurisdictions go further. The benchmark, the international benchmark with regards to this really comes out of Japan. What Japan tries to look at is a holistic development of the individual or of the citizen. And therefore, what they try to figure out is it's a soft sort of parameter between the age of 0 and the age of, so 0 birth and the age of 40. That's in Japan. We were under the impression that 40 might be too late, but we understand the logic of the Japanese, because they were of the assumption that elements that currently apply to this particular age bracket will also apply with the age bracket in between 35 and 40. And so for Bahrain's context, every country has its own context, but for Bahrain's context, we were looking from birth up to the age of 35. That's the youth full segment that we're referring to.
Okay, well, thanks. This is clear, and I know, as you said, every country, every region, every organization even define the age of youth. As a parliamentarian, I can tell you that in the International Parliamentary Union, they define the age of youth up to the age of 45. So that is again another different age. And I saw on WhatsApp that they define the age of youth up to 65. But now you have disappointed us, all of us, the old generation here, Aymen. Aymen, let me take you to listen to your views. What practices does your ministry use to empower youth to become effective leaders? We are talking about the future, and we believe your ministry and other ministries in the region have a role to do on that. So maybe you can share with us what do you do at the ministry, and if you know of other ministries in the region, what they are doing.
Yes, absolutely. So what we do with regards to empowerment and engagement is the following. The first thing that we did with regards to the Ministry of Youth, also from a governance perspective, was we needed to know what our due north is, or our North Star, if you will. And so we needed to have performance indicators so that we understand what exactly is it, what services are we providing, and what's our purpose of existence, what's our raison d'être. And so what we did was we identified the following. The aspirational goal is as follows. We understand from international, we understand from international academic studies that a hopeful community becomes a productive community very, very quickly. And the inverse is correct. And so, interestingly enough, the mandate of the Ministry of Youth was very, very simply to synthesize and grow hope. Okay, and so sounds very good, sounds very romantic. Now we need to turn it into operational excellence and make sure that we have KPIs. And so to do that, the second bit that we did was we created dashboards that most of our ministry members, most of cabinet have access to and get updates on, that show whether our youth, so 0 to 35, feel safe, seen, supported, wanted, trusted, hopeful. So this is the mechanism that was created based on our observations, and it was designed internally. So quite literally, there are dashboards in every sense of the word that through surveys show us what the perception on the ground looks like. And the reason I say this is because in preparing your youth, in preparing your labor force, preparing your graduates, preparing leaders of the future, I think one of the most important things that you need to address, and one of the most important things that many countries forget to address, is perception versus reality. And I'll tell you why we say that. There's a huge difference between the perception of feeling safe versus the reality of feeling safe. In most countries, if you statistically look at the numbers, individuals are safer than they perceive themselves to be. So the reality is safer than the perception. And so it's very important for us from a communication perspective to, again, focus on perception and ensure that individuals feel safe, seen, supported, wanted, trusted, hopeful. That's the soft element that we focus. The second bit that we need to ensure is the availability of opportunities. To be quite frank, when we looked at developed countries, countries that are also of a similar size, we've looked at the Singaporean model, we've looked at even the Estonian model, we've looked at a lot of Western models as well, and what we've noticed there. We have shortcomings had shortcomings in, I would say, in our jurisdictions and region, was that there they play to strengths. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they very early on, individuals, most young professionals, have their IQ tests, their psychometric tests, they've got career counseling and so on and so forth, to ensure that they understand what sort of role would they naturally be well accustomed to flourish in. Okay, that's not something that we had done or focused on, at least locally. And so what we have tried to do was the kingdom has created an institution called Skills Bahrain, which is going live very, very quickly now. Before second quarter of this year should be fully live. And so what Skills Bahrain does is effectively teaches the individual to identify their skill sets. Interestingly enough, when you look at developed countries, a lot of them know their psychometric readings by heart. They know their IQs by heart. They know where they would fit very, very quickly. So number one, we needed individuals to know their own strengths. Number two, we needed access to opportunities. I'm very glad to report that if you walk into any convenience store in Bahrain, and if you open any newspaper or do so online, if you will find at the very least 2 full pages of job opportunities that are available in Bahrain with their requirements and so on and so forth. And so the second issue that we had was access to information, access to opportunities. And so what we did was that we centralized that. This is being published readily and it's available to the community for them to be able to apply. So if they know what their strengths are and they know what is available in the market, they can very quickly bridge between the two. The last bit that I'll also add is that we had a huge problem, and this is we see this around the world. We have a huge signaling problem, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Internationally, the signaling problem is as follows: somebody graduates from a particular university with a particular qualification, becomes very successful very quickly. What you would then see is that you would have endless numbers of individuals that imitate and go into that same profession or that same academic specialization. And so we'd have years where we have excess in law graduates, we have years that we have excess in finance graduates, and then we have years where we have access and so on. So what usually happens, oddly enough, but this happens internationally, is that you would end up with oversupply for limited demand, okay? And then undersupply for other demands within the sector. And so what Bahrain uniquely has created now, and again, this is going live second quarter of this year, we've created something that a portal that we've called the Employability Skills Portal. And so the Employability Skills Portal identifies, number one, for the candidates, for talents, the opportunities that are currently available in the market. Number two, forecasts for opportunities that are coming in the future. More importantly, the pay scale that is associated with that sort of opening or opportunity. And that gives them, we think, enough information for them to be able to make an informed decision. So initially, what we're looking at doing is having individuals identify their skills, having individuals identify where the opportunities are, and making sure that the signaling mechanism is right so that people make informed decisions. I hope I answered your question.
Well, you answered all my questions, Aymen. Thank you very much. That was great. I've been told I have got only 5 more minutes. I have two points really to this. Number one, you said, I just want to ask you, what do you mean that for youth to feel safe? Safe of what? Okay, because you repeated the word safe another time. Safe of what? Number one.
So I'll give you the perfect example. So the perfect example is, we think the perfect example is the coronavirus and the products of the coronavirus, or the effects of the coronavirus. So number one, as far as change in environments, they feel unsafe because this is a new environment. Working from home for the vast majority of individuals is very different from working within an office that they're used to. Working with technology that they're unaccustomed to at the time gives you also the sense of lack of safety. Number three, you've got an economy, you've got economic changes, seismic changes in economies. So you've got IT companies where their share prices are flourishing, their revenues are flourishing, and so on and so forth. You've got brick and mortar industries that are going through the exact opposite experience. And so there's a lot of movement. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, may you live in interesting times. And the argument was that interesting times are unsafe times. So for the individuals that are very opportunistic, interesting times are fantastic times to live. For individuals that are less so, less opportunistic, and are much more regimental in their work, I would say, the sense of safety is very, very important for the workforce. So that's the sense of safety that we're making reference to.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask my last question. You have been at the Ministry and the High Council of Youth and the government doing, I would say, a good job over the past few years. And focusing on the youth is great. In the past, the Ministry used to focus more on the sports. I'm glad to report that. My question is, what can you do to ensure that this goes to the private sector? The private sector empower the youth, make use of the youth, believe in the youth. What are you doing to do that? I mean, we know that certain large organizations, they have their own commitment, their own values into that. But as you know, in our part of the world, we have many, many small and medium-sized organizations, and entities that really don't have time to think of the youth. They will want to do things themselves. So what sort of empowerment, what sort of engagement you can really push the private sector to give more focus and more belief in what the youth can do?
So I think the answer to that is incentivization more than anything else. I mean, we believe incentivization. We believe that incentive matters. We believe that incentive counts. And so because of that, what we've done is we've created a National Youth Committee. And I'll tell you exactly what this does. So the National Youth Committee identifies 4 corporate partners and institutions, identifies best practices internationally, identifies what other organizations within the same sector, within the same community, within the same jurisdiction has done with regards to the empowerment of youth, whether it refers to apprenticeships, vocational learning, whether it applies to forms of upskilling, reskilling of their current talent, and also with regards to executive training and providing opportunities from that perspective. There's a vast amount of programs that they can adopt internally. Again, key to it, as far as we're concerned, is incentivization. And so what this National Youth Committee is going to be doing is that we're going to be requesting for partnerships with the private sector to see whether we can embed these good practices, best practices, and policies within their organizations. That's number one. Number two, what we want them to do is that we want to gamify it as well. We want to make sure that these organizations sort of compete to ensure that they invest in and promote youth and empower youth. And therefore, we need to ensure that there's a level of recognition that is associated with the investors. I'll give you a very quick example, if I may. In Europe, we see investors in people, and we see the benefits of investors in people. So that has now become an international trademark that is well recognized and well respected. We want to make sure that the organizations wish to compete, voluntarily opt to compete, to be investors in youth, if I will, investors in effectively the future of not only Bahrain, but the international future, all of our future. And so that's really what we're doing. We're developing best practices or documenting best practices and making sure that they have access to the information and they have access to the recognition that we think they deserve if they were to apply this sort of best practice.
Great. I do believe incentivization is a great thing, but maybe I can add to that recognition. Those entities, those organizations who really invest in youth, give them empower youth, train them, develop them, need to be recognized, and that could be really done at the national level. Aymen, thank you very much. Really, we had a great start with you. I think you put lots of energy in the remaining session of the day. We have 2 more hours to go. You can stay if you have time to stay. We'd love to get your feedback on our organization. If not, I hope to see you soon, inshallah, when we have some cooperation between the PER initiative and the ministry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the PER initiative. Thank you.